Hi, I'm Jim Jordan. I'm the Health and Wellness Director of the Oregon Energy Healing Center. And today I'm going to have a conversation with a friend of mine, a good friend of mine, and a very talented practitioner, Vivian Engelsen. Vivian has been an acupuncturist since, I believe, 1983. Is that right?
I think I graduated from school in 1983 and got my license in 1984, to be exact.
To be exact, since 84, a student of Chinese medicine and an expert in essential oils. I know she also uses a very powerful line of supplements that I've used in my practice, standard process, and has worked in healing for several decades. So Vivian has been coming to the EE system since last August, and I want to give Vivian a good chance to explain to everybody what her take is on how the EE system works, how it works, and what it has done for her. So, Vivian, welcome to our discussion. It's good to see you.
Thank you. It's really nice to see you too, and anybody out there who's seeing this later. I'm happy to be here.
Great, Vivian. So why don't we start by just you telling everybody how did you come across the EE system and what has been your experience so far to date?
Someone who had gone to the EE system told me about it, and I am always interested and have an open mind about different healing modalities. So I always like to check them out with open mind to see how I might use them for myself or my patients. And so basically that was it, just a friend referral who
Okay,
had a positive experience. And then
okay.
heard several of my friends were going and liked it also.
Right. This was last summer, I believe, the summer of
Yeah.
2023. And so what was when you started coming in have you experienced something like this before with scalar energy or frequency medicine, what was your personal experience with the system when you first started?
I've never experienced anything with scalar waves, but I would say the most similar kind of experience was there's like a healing room that's out right now called the Blue Room. And there used to be one in Grants Pass, and I used to go to that one. But that worked with light, not waves, even though everything can be boiled down to light and waves. But
Right.
the approach was with this, you get exposed to this blue light. And so with the scalar waves, it was different. And the experience was a little different too, but that I would say that would be the most similar thing where you go in a room where your whole body is being treated.
Got it.
And I would, still go to the Blue Room, and even in spite of they're different,
Different, right, right.
Yeah. However, I have to say the I was affected just after one treatment with EES, where it was very profound for me in terms of having an immediate sense and feeling of well-being, and it was just surprising almost. I wasn't expecting anything,
Hmm.
but I felt so good. I almost couldn't believe it. It was like, wow, all I did was sit in this chair for 2 hours. And so to me, anything that makes you feel that good, then I want to do like over and over again, because, the yeah, the body isn't stupid. The body knows what's good for it in a way. You're
Yeah.
going to feel good if something's good for you, and if it isn't good for you, you're not going to feel so good unless obviously there's a detox or something like that involved. But just exposing myself to the energy was just so profound. It really blew my mind, really.
Okay, so was it more like a mood? You felt good, like at peace, relaxed, or you
All of those.
oh,
I
relaxed?
I feel like it was all of those things, but what it brought back up for, well, first of all, I didn't even know I wasn't relaxed. I didn't know that, like, I didn't know that I could feel better in a way that than what I was feeling. I wasn't feeling bad. I didn't go because I had an ailment or anything, and I didn't go because I was, you know, treating something in my body where I was ill. I just like, I think we're always wanting to feel better, you know, in a way, or just see what something is about. But after that first treatment, a memory came up for me of a feeling that I hadn't felt since I was a really young child. And I grew up on a farm. And now I know some people didn't have happy childhoods, and I'm sorry for that. But I had a really nice childhood growing up on the farm, and everything about it was beautiful. Being outside with animals and in nature, and there wasn't crime then, and you could you could just be happy and free. And um, after my first treatment, I was walking outside and I had a memory of being that little girl, like really young on the farm, and remembering how that felt. And I thought, oh my God, I haven't felt that good since I was a child.
Wow.
And that was like, I just thought, I don't even know what's going on in there, but it's
Right.
powerful. Yeah.
I hear you. I didn't quite have the memory of a childhood, but I just felt more when I started doing it regularly before I even bought the system. I was checking out in Arizona, I felt more like myself, my natural self. I didn't even realize I wasn't myself. I was
Uh-huh.
under so much stress, but I just felt so relaxed and so at ease with myself and my life that it was just an internal shift for me. That was not a physical thing necessarily, more of an internal shift in my sense of peace of mind, acceptance of myself,
Mm.
ability to handle life. And that's how I got really inspired for it. It's beyond physical health issues from my view. So I'm curious to get your take on how you think, what's your interpretation of how this is working with a person? Since you're an acupuncturist, you probably have a view of energy being a fundamental part of our health. So how would you describe this to someone?
Well, first of all, because I am an acupuncturist, I view everything through energy as energy. And
Mhm.
in acupuncture, it's, you know, when someone comes to me and I'm doing diagnostics, I look at, well, in certain parts of the body, there's not enough energy. In certain parts of the body, there's too much energy. And in certain parts of the body, the energy is just stuck. And then it'll have different qualities, but we don't need to get into that because it's sort of irrelevant to this conversation. But for me, with EES, it's it's almost like, and I don't know if this is a good term to use, but it's sort of like a shotgun approach where it's just go, because the energy, no matter what's going on in your body, excess, deficient, stuck, it will harmonize all of it. It'll just harmonize all of it. And you know, there's a lot of healing modalities that will um, do what's called, we mostly run around in a state of sympathetic dominance, which is fight or flight, and
Mhm.
rarely will shift into parasympathetic dominance, which is rest, digest. And the thing is,
Mhm.
um, I, you know, when I do acupuncture, people always shift into that. But what I realized, and I even think, you know, with meditation, you'll shift into parasympathetic dominance, or if you do yoga and things like that will promote parasympathetic dominance. But what I realized or experienced with EES, the level of deep, like that reality of deep and relaxing was so beyond any healing modality that had taken me into parasympathetic dominance, whether it was like there are certain oil applications that will do that, or even certain herbs that will help shift you out of that. And, you know, massage will shift you out of that. But I mean, it was like now it was like, get out the big guns, because like EES just puts all of that, leaves all that in the dust. It just was just so amazing how much, because I think the thing was, I didn't even realize that I wasn't really relaxed. I wasn't really, I I was still kind of stressed out, and I didn't even know it. I didn't
I
even know it.
I hear you. I just had a client I recommended to go to EES, and she's been in sympathetic dominance for a long time and needs medication to sleep and everything. And after the first session, she said she felt relaxed, like the deepest relaxation she's had in years. One session.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
it's a very powerful field that is almost impossible. I mean, even if you're trying to resist it, just sort of takes you deep.
Yeah.
It just takes you deep, takes me deep, I'll say, for myself.
Yeah.
It's a relaxed state, and it could be if I'm there at 10 in the morning or 1 in the afternoon, doesn't matter when it is, and without any effort or saying a mantra or any effort on my own to get there, it just sort of guides me there. And so what do you
Yeah.
think is happening then for people when they're in that state? I mean, how is that facilitating their recovery from chronic
Mhm.
illness? How do you see that?
Well, when your body is stressed out, your circulation and all your energy is like in your periphery.
Right.
It doesn't go into your vital organs, because you're in this fight flight state. You're ready to run away. You know, I mean, our DNA is old. We're ready to run away from the dinosaur. Do you know what I mean? And so that
Absolutely.
original
Absolutely. Yeah.
state of fight, you're not going to fight the dinosaur. You're going to run.
You'll
Um,
run from that one.
you're going to run, or you're going to get your head
That's
bent.
the natural state. That's the default setting now for people. Right.
Yes. And so then fast forward, we live in this time where we're bombarded with just so much. The internet has made us, I think, in a really abnormal way, have so much data coming at us all the time. We're just tense. You can't absorb it, and yet you're exposed to it all the time. And then on top of that,
Yeah.
there's all these invisible, harmful waves that you're exposed to, you know, from the internet and, you know, your phone and everything like that, that are invading your balanced state. So
Exactly.
all of that stuff that you're exposed to, when you get away with it, it's sort of like the EES is going into a supercharged forest. You get rid of all of the external influences. So first of all, you've got a clean slate to work with when you get rid of that. And so then what happens, the body inherently does not want to be ill. It wants to be well. Its natural vibratory sequence is to always go back to balance if it can. And so when you remove the obstacle, whether first of all it's being in sympathetic dominance, and then you go into parasympathetic dominance, you'll notice all of a sudden you'll take a deep breath. And it's like,
Right.
you know, when people finally relax, you'll hear, oh, they take a deep breath. And that's because they're breathing shallow in the other state,
Right.
because they're so tense they can't even take a deep breath. So now you're also oxygen deprived. And anyway, so when the body becomes relaxed, all of a sudden, what happens, your circulation will open up. So then you're starting to get oxygen and nutrients to the cells in an appropriate manner. And the more it stays open in that, like you can almost break down any disease to a cell is toxic, it's deficient in nutrients and oxygen.
Exactly.
And, and if you can make it so that those cells are able, like if there's not proper circulation and nutrition and oxygen to the cells, they can't detox. And then if all of those things are impaired, you're not going to get the nutrition into the cells either, or the oxygen. And so everything is going to be on a subpar level. So when I feel like you're exposed to the scalar waves, it just, the first thing you kind of experience is like all of a sudden you'll be taking a deep breath because you
Right. You can
because
breathe
you
again.
haven't been. And then it's like you just sort of fall into
Yeah,
this state
exactly.
of, it's like a surrender, and the
Yeah.
body goes, oh geez, thanks for God's sakes, now let's
Right.
let's heal some stuff here.
So what if you, so with yourself, you're describing kind of what's happened with you, more centeredness and peace and
Yeah.
relaxation. With some of your clients, your patients that you've sent,
Mhm.
what are they reporting, or what have you heard from some other people like that have health issues, like more physical health issues?
Uh-huh. Um, well, I would say one of the biggest ones, I'll tell you a few of them, but one of the biggest ones was a friend who had been in just major pain for years and on drugs.
Mhm.
And she was able to get off all the drugs and totally get out of pain. That is amazing.
Yeah, no,
That's amazing.
yeah, exactly.
And then I have a patient who has impaired vision and other things going on in his body, but that's his main complaint. And he, gosh, I think he told you what percentage did he say he's seeing better now? I forget. He told me I have.
His peripheral vision has improved significantly. I mean, I know for a fact. I mean, yeah, I've been
Yeah,
with him a lot outside of the century even.
I
Yeah,
have a.
well,
I've got the notes in my chart, but he gave me a percentage and
50% something. It's
something
improved quite a
amazing.
bit. Yeah, something quite significant. Eyesight, and that does also correlate to what you're saying in terms of circulation improving.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So those are common things. I mean, whether it's anything to do with eyesight, pain reduction, energy, better sleep, just more
Mm-hmm.
relaxed. The autonomic nervous system, when it starts to regulate this, everything improves because people can start to heal from injuries, heal their organs if they're deficient and or they're damaged. So,
Yeah. I think it's, I know I'm really bad business for myself, but I think it's like better way you get
yeah.
more for your buck going to EES than you do
I
acupuncture.
I
I,
tell my clients too also. I refer my clients more to the EES than to if they had to choose one thing, that or
yeah,
me,
that's
I'm saying go to get a bunch of sessions and then see if you want to see me.
exactly,
Yeah.
that's how I feel.
That's
And
interesting that we have the same experience. Yeah.
yeah, I think, and I've always been a bad business person, so that's not new, but
Well, you're just honest. I mean, you're telling the truth to people. So
I mean, I've never done anything that I felt affected my body in such a positive way.
yeah.
I'll tell you one other patient, she was having, she'd had a bad fall
Hmm.
and hit her head. Can you imagine? It was in the doctor's office where she was on the, where you sit on the table and then they pull out the thing for your feet. And he hadn't put it away and she tripped over it in the
Oh,
doctor's office and hit her
wow.
head.
Wow.
And it was bleeding really bad. So anyway, she was having difficulty concentrating and difficulty with her balance. It was affecting her blood pressure.
Hmm.
And what other symptoms was she having? Did I say concentration? She was
Yeah.
having, yeah, it was really like a lot of, well, obviously she had a concussion,
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And so she said, can I come for a treatment? I said, yeah, you can, but I said, I tell you what I think you should do. And you could still come for a treatment, but I think you should go to EES.
Yeah.
And so she did, and she had major improvement. Well, she never did make her appointment for me, and she started going every week. And now she'll text me every once in a while. She'll go, gosh, I don't even need to take my blood pressure medication. I
Wow.
can think really, easily. My balance is fine. And
Yeah.
just, you know, uh, you know what I love too? Anything that you can gain from that appears to be passive.
Yeah. Okay.
That to me is so way cool. Just, and it's sort of like when I refer people, they go, well, what do you have to do? I go, well, you just have to lay there. But if you think you're going
Yeah.
to have a problem with that, take a book,
Yeah.
take a book to read or something. If you're the kind of person that doesn't like to just lay there, just take a book with you,
Yeah.
you know, and you'll be fine. Um, those are
So,
the ones that come to my mind
yeah,
right
no,
off
that's
the top
good.
of my head.
I think I know probably all of these people. I
Yeah,
by
I'm
the
sure you
by the
do.
description of what you said.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're talking about the physical health things that are happening for people,
Okay.
but what about also, like, I mean, so the thing I'm curious about from your perspective too is that
Uh-huh.
everybody's got their own health issues they're facing, but also there's something sort of, I would say, collective, with society now, with people,
Hmm.
in terms of just a lot of polarization, divisiveness, and some
Lack of peace.
lack of peace, lack of harmony. And
Yeah.
I'm wondering if I know there have been studies on meditation and how that affects, things in the world that's happening. People meditate for peace and things like that. I'm interested to see what the more EE centers that are put up, how that can affect the sort of the collective too, and especially in terms of our relationship to, I'll just go out on a limb and say, the spiritual dimension of life too. We're more than
Hmm.
just bodies. We have also a spiritual dimension. And there's a book I've been reading. I don't know if I got this mentions to you, but I might as well show it to you now in the Awakening the Holographic Human. This is written by,
Beautiful.
it's a great book. This is a woman who, Elizabeth Boches, who writes a lot about different modalities and how they affect consciousness. And she has a whole section on the energy enhancement system. And I could say I read this book before I even got the system, and she describes what she says is happening with the E system, that the scalar waves are carriers for information that is sort of not just restoring physical health, but restoring harmony with the deeper spiritual dimension of life. Let's put it that way.
Hmm.
That's the best I can phrase it. So I'm wondering if you have some sense about that, or what you think about that, or just your comments.
That's a really good point. I'm glad you brought it up because the only things that I did mention were physical. And
Yeah,
in when I look at energy, I don't just look at physical. Then you look at the emotional and the
yeah,
spiritual. And what I noticed for myself was both of those things, like my emotional sense and I would say the overall quality of my emotional state became um, just peaceful and like I remember, I don't know when it started happening, but almost every time, like after I would leave EES and I would walk outside and it's the flowers and everything are always groomed so pretty, and I would look at the flowers and I felt like almost sort of silly, like I just was in love with everything.
yeah.
And I went, oh my God, this is so
Mm.
like this is
Great.
so
That's great.
beautiful.
Yeah, to be in love
Oh
with life again. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
that's kind of what's missing, is people are so in their heads, they're so disconnected from life
Hmm.
and each other. And they're so in their little camp of, their little group, whatever that is, red or blue or this or that, or,
Yeah.
that we're not feeling connected. And that to me is that's a problem that will affect your psychological health, emotional health, and ultimately societal health.
Right. And then you look at people as that your friend or your foe,
Yeah.
and it's not, rather than just spiritual human beings, or anything, I um, found myself, I feel like, changing on a really deep level where I, I think, I've spent a lot of time. You can tell when you look at my resume, I've spent a lot of time in
Yeah.
school, learned a lot of stuff. So my
Yeah.
brain is filled with a lot of information. And
Yeah.
I can have a tendency to get like, on full tilt in my cerebral reality. And it will take me away from what, like when you go into a state where there's a lot of peace, you tap into a whole other place of knowing and knowledge that comes from what I feel is connected with your spiritual self. And um, so I think what I noticed personally was that my interactions with people in my practice or with my friends, I noticed that I would have more patience.
Mhm.
I I think that when I'm talking sometimes in the past, I could have a tendency to talk over people because I would get impatient. They'd be too slow for me. It's like speed it up. I'm too, we got to go here. We got to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that part of myself, I feel, has changed where um, I'm probably a nicer person to be around in that way because I'm not so wound up.
See,
I'm a lot.
I've only known you since you've been coming to the E system. So
Yeah.
I only know
You
the best
know
part
that
of you. I
hyper
only know
Vivian?
and you only know
Um,
me since I've been had this system.
yeah,
So
you better know me
we're
now.
probably both very difficult to be around.
And
That's a great story. I like that.
I, if I have a little, I can sometimes have a little too much caffeine and shift into that mode. But,
Yeah.
and then I would say really, I, there's a sense of, and it's like what you said, this connectedness, like when, especially I feel it, when I'm outside, like not being separate
Yeah.
from nature, like I'm a part of that tree or the sky or whatever. And that might sound sort of funny, but I, there's a sense of a connectedness or belonging that I feel like has been really enhanced by the EES a lot, and got me. So I was remembering a lot of feelings that I had forgotten that I had felt when I was much younger in a
Yeah.
much healthier and happier environment because
Yeah.
it was very simple back in those days on the farm, you
There's
know.
one more thing I want to ask you about. I'm really interested to hear your take on what other advice can you give people who are watching this video? I mean, obviously we're both strong fans of the energy enhancement system, but what other things that have you found are really important to address? I know we're not going to talk about specific conditions.
Mhm.
People are not going to be treating them or giving them specific advice, but general things to help them. I mean, from my view, to build their vitality so they support their body's capacity to heal. So I
Mhm.
would say like the EE system is a big thing to do. And then also, to eat properly, to exercise, to detoxify, to get in touch with nature, and some of the things. But what, from your perspective, would be the top two or three things that you could recommend for people to do while they're doing the EE system if they're not
Mhm.
getting specific coaching with you or me? Let's say general things.
Well, what they put in their bodies is really important. The foods they eat, the fluids they drink, anything that isn't going to nurture your body's going to have to deal with, whether it's breaking down, like I tell people, if you can't recognize it from how it came from nature, don't eat it. You
Right.
know,
If it doesn't look like food, it's not food. That's used to
or
tell
if you look at the bag and there's
yeah,
all these long words
that
on
you
it,
can't pronounce right.
don't eat that. You want
That's right.
stuff that maybe has 3 ingredients where it says sesame seeds and, you
Yeah,
know, whatever. It's
yeah.
like
That's
any people think they're not eating processed food. And I say, what kind of salad dressing do you use?
yeah.
That is a giveaway all the time,
Right. If they're
you know.
any salad dressing, it's not
Oh
good.
my God. You know, it's
Right.
like, can you read the label to me? You
Yeah.
know, so anyway, what you put in your body is really important. And
Excellent.
then there are, I would say, if you have some sort of an imbalance, to seek help from a
Yeah.
qualified person that's good at diagnostics and has experience in using herbs and supplements to help support that process. And then I think, you know, when we're talking about energy, your thoughts have energy. Everything has energy. And so if you think that your thoughts don't have energy, you're highly mistaken. And it's part of what I do in Chinese medicine. And this is something everybody can, I think, relate to or has seen. If they've ever been around somebody who's gotten really angry, their face actually turns red when they're
Right.
screaming. Well, what that is that fiery heat rises, it's going up into their head, and then they're spewing it out their mouth. That's energy, you know, and that actually will harm the body. When, you know, there are people who walk around with a lot of anger issues. And so anyway, my point being is that in terms of self-awareness, it's kind of like always going inside yourself and what am I projecting now
Right.
into the outward world. And if it isn't something, it's just like the old do unto others as you would have them do unto you. If you're not projecting that in all that you're doing, some kind of energy in you is going to have an aberrant quality. It just is.
That's beautiful. That's really, I think that's great advice. I mean, I think just to be aware of what you're projecting out to the world, taking responsibility for what you put in your body, taking responsibility for what you're saying and what you're doing, because that has an effect on your health. And I really like how you tie that in, because it's true. We think that, oh, I can just be upset or angry all the time. That's not going to affect my health. That's not true. We're,
No.
we're going to hurt ourselves. I totally hear you. So yeah, think ways to help process those emotions and release those emotions probably would be helpful to everybody, I would say.
Hmm. And you know, it really, for every person that's different. If somebody has a really severe problem with it, they probably need to talk to somebody.
Exactly
If
right.
it's in Chinese medicine, you look at it where if sometimes it actually can just be a pathology, where if you drain that fire off the liver, then all of a sudden the person's going, wow, not angry anymore, because
Oh,
it
yeah.
was an actual physical pathology. But I think, well, anyway, I
Well,
can go down a rabbit hole at
I'm
any
gonna
time.
come to you for some acupuncture, I think.
You ought to. I can't wait to get my blood done with you.
Well, that's right. This Sunday, yeah. So,
Yeah,
well, this has been really. We could talk forever, but I try to keep these videos to about a half an hour. But I
yeah.
just really enjoy. I've been looking forward to speaking with you. I think you have just enormous amount of experience and wisdom, and you've helped a lot of people with their health over the years. And it's really, I think it's important for people who are exploring the energy enhancement system to get other people's perspective on, people with your level of experience on what it's doing for them. And I think you've done a beautiful job to describe, your experience, and it's been helpful to me, and I hope it's helpful to other people. I do have a website for you. Is this the website people would go to get your information about you? EssentialOilDoctors.com?
It's with an S, essentialoildoctors.com. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
Vivian Engelsen, licensed acupuncturist.
Uh-huh.
I would say just overall healer. I mean, I'd call you a healer and just a really incredibly beautiful, wise person. I'm really grateful that you took time out of your afternoon to speak with me. And I'm going to get this video out to our members so they can see what you have to say. And I,
My honor and pleasure, Jim. I love EES, and I
yeah,
always want it in my life.
okay, well, we'll keep it in your life, and I
All right.
look forward to seeing you this weekend.
Okay, thanks. Have a
Okay,
good day.
you too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.